During an unexpected visit to my husband while he was on a business trip, I saw a woman wearing his shirt. I turned away from the front desk and walked back toward the parking garage, my shoes clicking against marble in a rhythm that matched my racing heart. Click. 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 Each step a small decision to stay calm, to think, to plan instead of react. Have you ever felt completely safe with someone, only to discover they were quietly destroying you? Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Warm welcome to the family, enjoy the story. If you've ever wondered how far someone would go to steal your entire life while you sleep in the same bed, this story will shake you to your core. Have you ever felt completely safe with someone, only to discover they were quietly destroying you? Has betrayal ever worn the face of love in your home? Do you know someone who trusted completely and lost everything? What I'm about to share isn't just about a cheating husband. It's about a woman who discovered that while she was clipping coupons and saving for her daughter's college fund, her partner was systematically erasing her from their financial life. Every signature. Every account. Every dream they'd built together. Follow along as we uncover how one Christmas gift exposed a crime that took months to plan and seconds to execute. The woman stepping out of the elevator wore my Christmas gift. The shirt I'd wrapped with trembling hands, choosing the blue plaid because it matched his eyes. I stood in that St. Louis hotel lobby counting marble tiles instead of breathing. 12 black squares to the front desk. 7 white ones to the elevator bank where she'd just emerged, phone pressed to her ear, laughing at something that made her throw her head back. That laugh echoed off the lobby walls while my world cracked open. The plaid shirt hung perfectly on her frame. She'd rolled the sleeves exactly the way Michael did on Sunday mornings when he made pancakes for our kids. The fabric caught the light as she walked toward the revolving door, still chatting, still laughing, completely unaware that she was wearing my marriage. I'd driven 3 hours from Columbus to surprise him. Our 15th anniversary was next week, and I thought showing up at his corporate conference would be romantic. Maybe we could grab dinner, walk along the Mississippi, remember why we fell in love before kids and mortgages made us strangers sharing a bed. The front desk clerk looked up as I approached. Young woman, maybe 25, with kind eyes that shifted when I spoke. I'm here to see my husband, Michael Thompson. Room 412. Her fingers tapped the keyboard. Tap tap tap. The sound cut through the lobby noise like a blade. Mr. Thompson is checked in with a guest. She paused, studying her screen. Are you expected? Expected. The word hung between us like smoke. I'm his wife. Her face changed. Something flickered behind those kind eyes, recognition, maybe pity. She'd seen this before. Let me call up to the room. She reached for the phone, but I caught her wrist gently. Don't. Because suddenly I knew. The woman in my Christmas gift wasn't a coincidence. The way the clerk's shoulders tensed wasn't surprise. The careful phrasing about a guest wasn't hotel policy. This was choreographed. If someone wore your trust like a costume, would you stay silent to gather proof? Subscribe, you'll need to know what comes next. I turned away from the front desk and walked back toward the parking garage, my shoes clicking against marble in a rhythm that matched my racing heart. Click. 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 Each step a small decision to stay calm, to think, to plan instead of react. In my car, I pulled out my phone and photographed the hotel exterior, the parking garage, the timestamp. Evidence. Then I called the office number Michael had given me for this conference. Global Logistics Summit? Ma'am, that conference was canceled 3 months ago. My hands didn't shake as I started the engine. They stayed steady as I pulled onto the highway. But my mind raced with every mile marker back to Ohio, calculating dates and cross-referencing lies. The name on the guest registry wasn't just any woman. It was the same name from his expense reports, the ones he thought I'd never seen. Pause and remember that name, Jennifer Walsh. You'll understand why in 3 minutes. The drive home would take 3 hours. I had 180 minutes to figure out how long my husband had been planning to destroy me. The highway stretched empty, but my mind raced with receipts. 3 hours of driving, 15 years of marriage math. Mile marker 127, the business trips had doubled this year. Chicago, Detroit, Indianapolis, St. Louis. All cities with corporate training centers, he'd said. All cities where Jennifer Walsh apparently waited. Mile marker 105, the password changes started in January. Bank accounts, credit cards, even Netflix. Security upgrade, he'd explained when I couldn't log into our joint checking. Company policy after that data breach. Mile marker 89, the missing mail. Bank statements that used to arrive like clockwork suddenly stopped coming to the house. Paperless is better for the environment, he'd said, kissing my forehead like I was a child who'd asked a sweet, simple question. By mile marker 67, I was adding up months of small lies that felt like love. I pulled into our driveway at 8:47 p.m. The porch light was on a timer, something I'd programmed myself because Michael was never home to flip switches anymore. The house looked exactly the same as when I'd left that morning, excited about my surprise road trip. But I saw it differently now. Every detail felt suspect. The mailbox key ring by the front door held 2 keys I didn't recognize. When had those appeared? I unlocked the front door and stood in my own hallway like a stranger, listening to the silence. The kitchen counter held 3 weeks of mail I'd never seen. Bank envelopes. Credit card statements. Insurance documents. All addressed to Michael Thompson only. When had my name disappeared from our correspondence? I opened the first envelope with a steak knife. Account holder authorization change, effective January 15, authorized signatures, Michael Thompson. Previous authorization for Karen Thompson, removed. January 15. The day after my birthday. The day he'd given me diamond earrings and promised we'd renovate the guest bathroom. The second envelope contained our mortgage statement. Beneficiary change filed February 3. In case of death, full ownership transfers to Michael Thompson. Previous joint ownership, revoked. February 3, Valentine's Day weekend. We'd gone to that bed and breakfast in Hocking Hills. He'd held my hand during the sunset walk and talked about growing old together. The third envelope made my chest tight. Life insurance policy update. Beneficiary change, Jennifer Walsh, relationship listed as domestic partner. Filed February 20. 3 days after he'd told me he loved me in a candlelit restaurant. Ever felt your own signature become a stranger's? I walked upstairs to our bedroom, my bedroom, I corrected myself. The aftershave bottle on his dresser was nearly empty. He'd been using it more lately, I realized. Getting dressed up for someone else. In his closet, I found the receipt for the plaid shirt. Purchased December 18. 2 shirts, same style, different sizes. One for me to wrap and give him Christmas morning. One for Jennifer Walsh to wear in St. Louis hotel lobbies. The joint account statement showed my name crossed out. Effective date, 3 months ago. I sat on the edge of our bed, surrounded by evidence of my erasure, and made a decision. I wouldn't cry tonight. Tonight, I would count every lie, document every theft, and figure out exactly how long my husband had been burying me alive on paper. Tomorrow, I would start digging myself out. His briefcase never locked. I teased him about trusting the world. Now I understood why. The kitchen table became my crime scene at 6 a.m., spread with manila folders and coffee-stained paperwork that told the story of my destruction. Michael's company expense reports dating back 8 months, each one a chapter in a book I was never supposed to read. January expenses, consultant accommodation, J. Walsh, $320 per night, Chicago Marriott. The same weekend he'd called me from his training conference, complaining about the uncomfortable hotel bed. February, strategic planning session, J. Walsh consultation, $1,200. Filed the day after Valentine's dinner, when he'd promised me forever over champagne. March through July, a steady pattern of payments to Jennifer Walsh Consulting. Hotel rooms. dinners, professional development workshops that lasted entire weekends. But it was the handwritten notes in the margins that made my blood freeze. Kay doesn't know about the account transfer, proceed as planned. Life insurance change approved, beneficiary update complete. Mortgage refinance consultation scheduled, keep paperwork offsite. These weren't love notes to a mistress. These were business memos between criminals. I photographed every page with my phone, my hand steady despite the rage building in my chest. The camera flash illuminated numbers that added up to more than adultery. This was theft. Identity fraud. Financial murder carried out with forged signatures and pillow talk. The briefcase had a hidden compartment I'd never noticed, a slim folder tucked behind the main section. Inside, I found photocopies of my driver's license, social security card, and birth certificate. Someone had been studying my identity like a blueprint. Below those, bank routing numbers for accounts I'd never opened. Credit applications with my information but addresses I'd never lived at. A life insurance application dated 6 months ago, my signature perfectly forged at the bottom. My signature. The one I'd practiced in 7th grade, adding little flourishes to make it look sophisticated. The same signature I'd used to sign Christmas cards, mortgage papers, and birthday cards for 15 years. Now it was a weapon being used against me. Financial betrayal leaves no bruises but steals everything. Subscribe, protect yourself from what you can't see coming. The worst discovery sat at the bottom of the folder, a printed email between Michael and Jennifer, dated 2 weeks ago. Kay's getting suspicious about the missing statements. Move faster on the retirement account transfer. Once that's liquidated, we can finalize the house sale and disappear. She'll wake up with nothing but debt in her name. Jennifer's response, understood. The Florida property is ready. New identities are processed. By Christmas, Karen Thompson won't exist on paper. New identities. They weren't just stealing my money, they were planning to erase me completely and start fresh somewhere else. I set down my coffee cup and realized my hand wasn't shaking anymore. The initial shock had burned away, leaving something harder behind. Determination. They'd made one critical mistake. They underestimated the woman who'd been balancing church books and managing household finances for 15 years. I knew numbers. I understood paper trails. And I was very, very good at keeping secrets. The routing number matched our mortgage account. The one he said was automatically handled. What's the scariest financial document you never signed? Time to call Margaret. If Michael wanted to play financial warfare, he'd picked the wrong opponent. Margaret had audited books for 30 years. Her pen stopped moving when she saw the signature samples. We sat in the church office at 7 a.m. Spread across the desk between us were photocopies of every forged document I'd found. Margaret's reading glasses caught the morning light as she examined each page with the methodical precision that made her legendary among pastors who'd tried to fudge their expense reports. Karen, honey, this isn't marriage trouble. She looked up, her weathered face serious. This is identity theft. Federal crime level. She held up 2 documents side by side, a bank signature card with my name from 2010, and a recent authorization change from January. Both had my signature, but Margaret's trained I caught what mine had missed. Look at the N in Karen. In your real signature, you loop it twice. These forgeries only loop once. And see how the T in Thompson slants? Your natural hand slants left. These slant right. The evidence was right there in the handwriting. Someone had been practicing my signature, but they hadn't perfected it. Margaret pulled out a magnifying glass, the same one she used to catch discrepancies in church budgets. Under magnification, the forgeries looked clumsy, obvious. Like a teenager trying to fake their parents' signature on a report card. How many documents show these fake signatures? She asked. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through photos. 17 so far. Bank accounts, insurance policies, credit applications, the mortgage refinance. Sweet Jesus. Margaret leaned back in her chair. Karen, they've been building a parallel financial life in your name. Every account they've opened with your forged signature is your legal responsibility until proven otherwise. The weight of it hit me like cold water. Even if I proved fraud, I could be liable for debts I never created, accounts I never opened, loans I never signed. What do I do? Margaret's expression shifted from concern to something harder. In 30 years of church finances, she'd seen every kind of thievery. From pastors skimming offering money to trustees embezzling building funds. But she'd never seen anything this systematic. We document everything. Every signature, every date, every account. We build a case so airtight that no judge, no prosecutor, no jury could doubt what happened here. She opened her desk drawer and pulled out a fresh legal pad. First, we contact every financial institution where your name appears. Flag every account for fraud investigation. Second, we file police reports, not just local, but FBI Financial Crimes Unit. Third, we get restraining orders on all joint assets before they disappear completely. Her pen flew across the paper, creating a timeline of actions. You're lucky you found this now. Another month, and they might have been gone with everything. How do you know so much about financial fraud? Margaret's smile was grim. My ex-husband tried this same scheme in 1987. Back then, it was harder to track. Today, everything leaves digital footprints. Michael and Jennifer just made the biggest mistake of their lives. She stood up and gathered the documents. Let's go ruin their morning. Margaret's face went white. Karen, this isn't cheating. It's identity theft. Tag someone who helped you see the truth when you couldn't. The teller's screen flickered through months of transactions I'd never authorized. Each click was a year of trust deleted. Margaret sat beside me at First National Bank, her church treasurer credentials giving us access to fraud investigation services I never knew existed. The teller, a middle-aged woman named Patricia, had seen this before. Her face showed professional sympathy mixed with genuine anger. Mrs. Thompson, I'm going to walk through every account change made in the past year. Some of these will be difficult to see. The first screen showed our joint checking account. January 15th, authorization removed for Karen Thompson. New single account holder. Michael Thompson only. Patricia clicked to the next screen. Here's where it gets concerning. Same day your access was removed, a new account was opened in your name at our downtown branch. You weren't physically present for this. She pulled up security footage timestamp, January 15th, 2:47 p.m. A woman with dark hair and my driver's license, signing papers with practiced confidence. Jennifer Walsh, wearing my identity like a costume. The signature matches perfectly, Patricia continued. Someone spent considerable time learning your handwriting. More clicks. More screens. Each one showed systematic theft dressed up as legitimate banking. February 3rd, $15,000 transferred from our savings to an account in Florida. Michael's authorization only. February 20th, home equity line of credit opened for $75,000. My forged signature approving debt against my own house. March 15th, our retirement account, 20 years of careful saving, liquidated in full. $127,000 moved to offshore investment fund. April 2nd, new credit cards issued in my name, shipped to a P.O. box I'd never rented. This is sophisticated identity theft, Patricia said, printing screen after screen of evidence. The perpetrators knew your social security number, your mother's maiden name, your employment history. Someone with intimate access to your personal information. Margaret leaned forward. How much total financial damage? Patricia calculated quietly, her fingers dancing across the keyboard. Direct theft, $187,000. Fraudulent debt created in Karen's name, $95,000. If this had continued another month, they could have stolen your house and left you bankrupt. My hand stayed steady, but my heart hammered. Nearly $300,000. My entire financial life erased while I slept beside the person destroying me. One signature can steal a lifetime. Subscribe so you recognize the warning signs first. What happens now? I asked. We freeze everything. File federal fraud reports. Contact the FBI Financial Crimes Unit. Patricia's voice turned firm. Mrs. Thompson, this crosses state lines, involves multiple institutions, and shows clear premeditation. This is serious federal crime territory. She handed me a stack of documents. These are fraud affidavits. Your signature, your real signature, gives us legal authority to reverse every unauthorized transaction. Margaret squeezed my hand. Karen, you're not just a victim anymore. You're a witness in a federal case. As we walked out of the bank, Patricia called after us. Mrs. Thompson? The security footage shows your husband with Jennifer Walsh at 3 different branches. They were working together from the beginning. The security footage showed him with her at the bank. Signing papers. Smiling. Rate from 1 to 10, how much do you trust your partner with money? In my car, I stared at the federal fraud report Patricia had filed. Case number FB 2024-7789. I wasn't just Karen Thompson, betrayed wife, anymore. I was Karen Thompson, federal witness. And Michael had no idea what was coming. This level of systematic deception takes months to plan, the attorney said. Someone coached him. David Shen had been practicing family law for 15 years, but his expression told me he'd rarely seen fraud this elaborate. His downtown Columbus office overlooked the courthouse where, in a few weeks, Michael might face criminal charges. Mrs. Thompson, most divorce cases involve hidden assets or undisclosed debts. This is different. This is criminal conspiracy to commit identity theft, bank fraud, and financial elder abuse. Financial elder abuse? I'm 43. In Ohio, financial abuse applies to anyone whose trusted partner systematically steals their assets through deception. Age doesn't matter. Trust does. David spread my evidence across his conference table like a prosecutor preparing for trial. Bank statements, forged signatures, security footage stills, email printouts between Michael and Jennifer. The paper trail painted a clear picture of premeditated crime. Let's talk timeline. Based on these documents, the planning started 8 months ago. The execution began in January. If you hadn't discovered the hotel incident, they would have disappeared with everything by Christmas. He pointed to a legal pad covered with dates and dollar amounts. Here's what they stole: $187,000 in cash and investments. Here's what they planned to steal: your house equity, your credit rating, your legal identity. Jennifer Walsh would become the real Karen Thompson. You would become a woman with no financial existence. The weight of it settled on my chest like concrete. They weren't just stealing money. They were stealing me. What are my legal options? David's pen moved across fresh legal paper. Criminal, FBI is building a federal case. Bank fraud, wire fraud, identity theft. If convicted, they're looking at 10 to 15 years federal prison time. He flipped to a new page. Civil, we file for immediate asset recovery, restraining orders on all joint property, and punitive damages for emotional distress. We can probably recover everything they stole plus legal costs. How long does this take? Federal criminal case? 18 months to 2 years. Civil recovery? We can get emergency orders this week to freeze all assets and reverse fraudulent transactions. David leaned back in his leather chair. Karen, I need to ask you something difficult. Did you notice anything unusual about Michael's behavior over the past year? I thought back through months of small changes I'd dismissed as work stress. He started working out more. New clothes. Different cologne. Longer business trips. But he also became more attentive at home. Guilt behavior. Classic pattern. Criminals often overcompensate with their victims to avoid suspicion. The room fell quiet except for the scratch of his pen taking notes. David, What happens if they run? Jennifer's email mentioned Florida property and new identities. His expression darkened. That's why we're filing emergency motions today. Travel restrictions, asset freezes, passport holds. By 5 p.m., neither Michael nor Jennifer will be able to leave Ohio or access any accounts. He stood up and walked to his window overlooking the courthouse. Karen, in 15 years of practice, I've seen cheating spouses, hidden assets, even some financial deception. But I've never seen anything this calculated or cruel. The preservation order went through. Michael's accounts froze at 5 p.m. Predict, how will he react to frozen accounts? David handed me a business card with his personal cell phone number written on the back. He's going to panic tonight. When he does, don't answer his calls. Let him dig his grave deeper. His voice cracked when the bank called him. I listened from the kitchen extension, counting his lies. The phone rang at 6:23 p.m. I knew it would be Michael. David Shen had predicted the timing perfectly. Frozen accounts create immediate panic, and panicked criminals make mistakes. Karen? Karen, are you there? I picked up on the fourth ring, keeping my voice steady. Hi honey. How's the conference? There's been some kind of banking error. Our accounts are frozen. I can't access anything. My credit cards are declined. Oh no. What kind of error? Silence. I could hear him thinking, calculating what story would work. Someone must have reported fraud on our accounts. Identity theft or something. The bank is investigating. That's terrible. When did this happen? This afternoon. Karen, I need you to call the bank and straighten this out. Tell them everything is fine, that I have authorization to access all our accounts. I traced circles on the kitchen counter with my finger, buying time. Which bank, honey? First National. And also the credit union. And that new account we opened downtown. My blood chilled. We never opened an account downtown. He just admitted to knowing about accounts I was never told existed. What new account downtown, Michael? Long pause. Did I say downtown? I meant the savings account. The one we've always had. Lie number 1. Of course. Which conference are you at again? The Global Logistics Summit. In St. Louis. Lie number 2. That sounds important. Is Jennifer Walsh there too? Dead silence. Not even breathing. Who? Jennifer Walsh. From the expense reports. Didn't you mention working with a consultant named Jennifer? I don't know anyone named Jennifer. Karen, why are you asking these strange questions? We have a banking emergency here. Lie number 3. When lies collapse, truth gets dangerous. Subscribe, learn how people fight back. Michael, I drove to St. Louis yesterday to surprise you. What? You came to St. Louis? The hotel said you were checked in with a guest. The Global Logistics Summit was canceled 3 months ago. And Jennifer Walsh was wearing the plaid shirt I bought you for Christmas. Silence stretched between us like a chasm. When he spoke again, his voice was different. Smaller. Karen, I can explain everything. I'm listening. It's not what you think. Jennifer she's helping with a business opportunity. Real estate investment. The trips were for research. The accounts are for the investment funds. Even his explanations were lies. Michael, I found the forged signatures. I found the emails about erasing me and starting fresh in Florida. I found the life insurance changes and the mortgage fraud. His breathing quickened. How did you? Who told you about? He caught himself too late. Who told you? He whispered. I hung up without answering. What's the most powerful thing you've ever said by staying silent? The phone rang again immediately. I didn't answer. It rang 15 more times over the next hour. Michael was learning that frozen accounts were just the beginning of his problems. The flowers arrived at dawn. Roses with a note, "Let's work this out." I photographed them for evidence. Red roses, 2 dozen, expensive. The kind Michael had never bought me during 15 years of marriage. The card was handwritten in his careful script. "Karen, I love you. Please don't let lawyers destroy our family. We can fix this together." I took pictures from 3 angles, then called David Chen. "Classic manipulation tactic," he said over the phone. "Love bombing after being caught. Document everything he sends, flowers, cards, gifts, texts. It all shows consciousness of guilt." By 9 a.m., Michael was parked across the street from our house. He sat in his Honda Civic for 2 hours, occasionally walking to our front door and knocking softly. I watched from the upstairs bedroom window, taking photos of his license plate, his face, the way he kept checking his phone. He was waiting for instructions. From Jennifer, I realized. At 11 a.m., my phone buzzed with a text. "Karen, please talk to me. I'm losing everything. Our marriage, our house, our future. Don't let one mistake destroy 15 years. One mistake." He was calling systematic financial fraud one mistake. I forwarded the text to David Chen and kept cleaning house, pretending Michael wasn't slowly losing his mind on my front lawn. The second wave came at 2 p.m. A jewelry box delivered by courier. Inside, diamond earrings that cost more than our monthly mortgage payment. The note read, "These are from our anniversary fund. I was saving for something special. Please forgive me." What anniversary fund? We'd never had an anniversary fund. The money for these earrings came from our liquidated retirement account. He was buying my forgiveness with my own stolen money. By 4 p.m., Margaret arrived with coffee and legal advice. "Don't accept any gifts, Karen. In court, they'll claim you were willing participants in the financial arrangements." We sat at my kitchen table, watching Michael pace our front yard like a caged animal. His phone rang constantly. Jennifer, I assumed, trying to coordinate their next move. "He's desperate," Margaret observed. "Desperate people make bad decisions." As if summoned by her words, Michael approached the front door and began pounding with both fists. "Karen. Karen, open the door. I know you're in there. We need to talk." I called 911. "Columbus Police? My husband is violating a restraining order and harassing me at my home address." The officer arrived in 12 minutes. I watched from my window as Michael tried to explain why a man with frozen bank accounts and pending federal fraud charges was pounding on doors and sending expensive gifts. The officer issued a trespassing warning and told Michael to leave the neighborhood entirely. As the patrol car drove away, my phone rang. Unknown number. "You can't hide forever, Karen." Jennifer Walsh's voice was cold, professional. "Michael's just the front man. This is bigger than him, bigger than you. Drop the charges, or things get complicated." Ever been love-bombed after being betrayed? I hung up and called David Chen. Jennifer Walsh had just made her first direct threat. And threats, unlike love letters and diamond earrings, were criminal evidence. Her name was Jennifer Walsh. Corporate consultant, recently divorced, with a talent for helping men restructure their finances. Margaret and I sat in the Columbus Public Library, using their free internet to research the woman who'd been wearing my husband's gifts. What we found made my stolen money look like pocket change. Jennifer Walsh, 38, had lived in 4 states over the past 6 years. Florida, Texas, Michigan, and now Ohio. Each relocation followed the same pattern: arrive in a new city, target married men with substantial assets, systematically drain their accounts, disappear when the heat got too hot. Her LinkedIn profile listed her as a financial reorganization specialist, with glowing recommendations from grateful clients. Divorced men who praised her for helping them protect assets during difficult transitions. Translation: she taught cheating husbands how to hide money from their wives. Look at this, Margaret pointed to a news article from Detroit Free Press, dated 2 years ago. Financial consultant investigated for fraud, Jennifer Walsh questioned in connection with 3 missing person cases involving recently divorced men. Missing person cases. The article was brief but chilling. Walsh's clients Gregory Morrison, 45, and David Kumar, 52, disappeared within weeks of liquidating substantial retirement accounts. Police found evidence of new identity documents and offshore banking arrangements. Walsh declined comment through her attorney. My hands started shaking. Margaret, what if Michael? Keep reading, she said grimly. The next search result was from a Tampa Bay news station. Romance scam artist targets wealthy widowers. Jennifer Walsh accused of bilking 3 men out of combined $2.3 million before vanishing. But Jennifer Walsh wasn't just running romance scams. She was running something bigger. A systematic operation that targeted marriages, not just lonely hearts. I found a private Facebook group called Financial Abuse Survivors, and posted Jennifer's photo with a simple question: has anyone seen this woman? Within an hour, my inbox exploded. She destroyed my marriage in Phoenix. Taught my husband to hide assets overseas. Cleveland, 2022. Jennifer Walsh Consulting. My ex disappeared with our entire business account. Indianapolis, last year. Same woman, same game. My husband thought he was hiring a financial advisor. She cleaned us out. Indianapolis. An hour from Columbus. She'd been working her way toward me for months. By evening, I had testimonies from 7 different women across 4 states. Jennifer Walsh wasn't just a criminal, she was a professional marriage destroyer who specialized in turning husbands against wives, then stealing everything from both of them. The pattern was always the same. Target recently dissatisfied married men with substantial assets. Pose as financial consultant offering asset protection services. Seduce the husband while teaching him to hide money from his wife. Systematically drain all accounts using forged documents and identity theft. Convince the husband to disappear with her to start fresh. Abandon the husband once all money is transferred to her control. Some betrayals are business plans. Subscribe, stay ahead of people who profit from pain. Margaret, I said, staring at 7 different stories that mirrored my own, Michael isn't just cheating on me. He's the victim too. What do you mean? Jennifer Walsh didn't seduce my husband. She recruited him. This whole thing, the forged signatures, the account transfers, the Florida escape plan, it's her business model. Michael thinks he's running away with his lover. Really, he's just her next mark. Jennifer Walsh had done this before. 3 times. We found the other wives. Should financial predators face criminal charges? The question wasn't whether Michael loved Jennifer Walsh. The question was, when would she throw him away? He told me the same story, whispered Beth from Michigan. Word for word. Even the same flowers. 5 of us sat in a private Zoom call at 8 p.m., 5 women whose lives had been destroyed by the same professional criminal. Beth from Detroit. Sarah from Tampa. Linda from Phoenix. Maria from Indianapolis. And me from Columbus. Each of us had received red roses and diamond earrings bought with our own stolen money. The pattern is identical, Sarah said, her voice tight with controlled anger. Jennifer targets men going through midlife crisis or work stress. She poses as a business consultant, gains their trust, then slowly convinces them their wives are financial liabilities. Beth nodded. She told my husband I was planning to divorce him and take half his business. She offered to help him protect his assets by moving money offshore. Same here, Maria added. Except she said I was having an affair and would use evidence to get alimony. She had fake photos, fake emails, fake everything. My husband believed her completely. Linda's story chilled me the most. Jennifer convinced my husband that I was stealing from his company. She forged documents showing wire transfers to my personal account, money I never received. By the time he figured out she was lying, our business was bankrupt and she was gone. How much did she steal from each of you? I asked. The numbers were staggering. Beth, $340,000. Sarah, $280,000. Linda, $420,000. Maria, $190,000. Total, $1.23 million. And that was just from the four of them. She's not just a con artist, Beth said. She's running a sophisticated business operation. She has fake identity documents, offshore accounts, legal contacts who help her disappear. This is organized crime. Sarah pulled up a shared Google document. We've been collecting evidence for months. Look at this. The document contained photos, bank records, court filings, and testimonies from 12 different victims across 6 states. Jennifer Walsh had been destroying marriages and stealing identities for at least 4 years. The FBI won't listen to individual cases, Linda explained. But 12 identical cases across multiple states? That gets federal attention. What about your husbands? I asked. Did any of them face criminal charges? The answers varied. Beth's husband was in federal prison for money laundering. Sarah's had committed suicide when he realized how completely he'd been manipulated. Linda's husband was cooperating with investigators in exchange for reduced charges. Jennifer Walsh doesn't just steal money, Maria said quietly. She destroys families completely. Husbands, wives, children, everyone loses except her. I thought about Michael, sitting in some cheap motel, probably still believing Jennifer loved him. Still believing they had a future together in Florida. Has anyone tried to contact her directly? I asked. Don't, Beth said urgently. She's dangerous when cornered. My husband tried to back out of their plan when he started having second thoughts. She threatened to frame him for domestic violence if he didn't cooperate. Sarah nodded. She has law enforcement contacts, legal connections, people who help her disappear witnesses. This isn't just fraud, it's a criminal organization. We spent 2 more hours comparing evidence, sharing legal strategies, and planning our coordinated attack on Jennifer Walsh's operation. Has sharing your story ever made you stronger? We had enough evidence to stop her. But we needed one more piece. Michael. The one witness who could testify about her methods, her contacts, her future plans. If only we could get him to realize he was her victim, not her partner. Just sign here, and she'll never know what hit her. The phone recording was crystal clear. David Shen had given me a small digital recorder 3 days ago. If Michael calls again, record everything. Desperate criminals confess when they think no one's listening. The call came at 11 p.m. on a Thursday. Michael's voice was slurred, whiskey, I guessed. Jennifer's voice in the background was sharp, coaching. Karen, baby, please. The FBI came to my hotel today. They're asking about bank accounts, about Jennifer, about everything. I need you to tell them this is all a misunderstanding. I kept my voice neutral. What kind of misunderstanding, Michael? The accounts, the transfers, all of it. Tell them you knew about everything. That we were planning investments together. What investments? Pause. Jennifer's voice, muffled but audible, tell her about the Florida property. The Florida property. Remember? We talked about retiring early, maybe buying a place near the beach. All those account changes were for real estate investments. I'd never had that conversation. We'd never discussed Florida. Michael was reading from a script Jennifer had written. Michael, I found emails between you and Jennifer planning to erase my identity and start fresh without me. That's not what those emails meant. Jennifer was helping me surprise you. A new house, new life together. I was going to bring you to Florida as a surprise. Even drunk, his lies were pathetic. Then why did the life insurance beneficiary get changed to Jennifer instead of me? Long silence. Jennifer's voice again, urgent, tell her it was temporary. For the investment protection. It was temporary, Karen. Just for investment protection while we set up the Florida accounts. I was going to change it back. Michael, I have recordings of Jennifer threatening me. I have testimonies from her other victims. I know about the men who disappeared after working with her. What men? What are you talking about? His confusion sounded genuine. Jennifer hadn't told him about her previous victims. David Kumar. Gregory Morrison. Men who liquidated their assets to run away with Jennifer Walsh and were never seen again. That's impossible. Jennifer loves me. We're starting fresh together. She showed me the house we're buying, the new identities, everything. My heart almost broke for him. Michael genuinely believed Jennifer Walsh loved him. He had no idea he was just her next disposal victim. Jennifer's voice cut through the background noise, clear and cold. Michael, hang up now. She's recording this. Karen, I have to go. But please, tell the FBI this was all consensual. Tell them you knew about the Florida plan. Michael, wait. Jennifer Walsh has done this before. Check her background. The missing men, the stolen money. You're not her partner, you're her next victim. You're lying. Jennifer warned me you'd try to turn me against her. She's going to abandon you the moment all the money transfers are complete. Check the Florida property records. Check the bank accounts. Your name isn't on anything. Silence. Then Jennifer's voice, no longer trying to whisper, Michael, hang up the phone right now. Jennifer, is Karen telling the truth? Are there other men? Don't listen to her lies. She's trying to destroy us. But the property records, my name should be on the Florida house if we're buying it together. Michael. Jennifer's voice turned sharp. End this call now, or our deal is over. The phone went dead. What evidence would convince you someone planned your destruction? 20 minutes later, my phone rang again. Michael's voice was shaking. Karen, I checked the Florida property records. My name isn't anywhere. The house is in Jennifer's name only. Michael, come home. We need to talk. I can't. She took my credit cards, my ID, everything. She says it's for security, but... Karen, I think I made a terrible mistake. The prosecutor called it the clearest case of financial fraud she'd seen this year. The courthouse steps were cold, but my hand stayed steady signing the criminal complaint. David Chen stood beside me as I wrote my signature on federal fraud charges against Jennifer Walsh and Michael Thompson. The same signature they'd spent months forging, now being used to seek justice. This is brave, Karen, David said. Most victims of financial abuse never get this far. The complaint listed 17 separate charges: identity theft, bank fraud, wire fraud, money laundering, criminal conspiracy. Each charge carried 5 to 10 years in federal prison. Behind us, news cameras gathered. Word had leaked that a multi-state financial fraud ring was being prosecuted in Columbus. The other wives, Beth, Sarah, Linda, Maria, had filed identical complaints in their home states. All pointing to the same criminal organization. Mrs. Thompson called a reporter from Channel 10 News. How does it feel to take on organized crime? I turned to face the cameras. 3 months ago, I was clipping coupons and balancing church books. Now I was the lead witness in a federal criminal case. It feels like telling the truth, I said simply. Inside the courthouse, FBI agent Rodriguez walked me through the prosecution timeline. We've been tracking Jennifer Walsh for 2 years. Your evidence and the testimonies from other victims finally give us enough for conviction. What about Michael? Your husband is cooperating. His testimony about Walsh's methods and contacts will help us locate other victims and recover more stolen assets. Agent Rodriguez opened a thick file folder. Karen, we've identified at least 23 victims across 8 states. Jennifer Walsh has stolen over $4.2 million using the exact same methods she used on you. The numbers were staggering. Jennifer Walsh wasn't just a criminal. She was running a sophisticated nationwide operation targeting married couples. She has connections with corrupt lawyers, identity forgers, offshore banking specialists. This is organized crime masquerading as relationship counseling. The courtroom was packed when we filed the official charges. In the front row sat the other wives, their faces showing the same mixture of pain and determination I felt. Jennifer Walsh was arrested that afternoon at a luxury hotel in Cleveland. She'd been planning her next escape, Agent Rodriguez told me later. Plane tickets to the Cayman Islands, new identity documents, and over $800,000 in liquid assets ready for transfer. Michael was arrested at the same hotel 2 hours later. His cooperation had already begun. He'd worn a wire during his final conversation with Jennifer, recording her instructions on money laundering and victim intimidation. Rate how satisfying legal justice feels versus personal revenge. The evening news led with our story. Columbus woman exposes multi-million-dollar marriage fraud ring. My photo appeared next to Jennifer's mugshot and a map showing victim locations across the country. The warrant was signed. By tomorrow, they'd both be arrested. But the real victory wasn't the arrests. It was the phone calls from other women who'd seen the news and recognized Jennifer Walsh's methods. Women whose husbands had been taking suspicious business trips, whose bank statements had gone missing, whose signatures had somehow appeared on documents they'd never signed. We'd stopped Jennifer Walsh. But we'd also taught other victims how to recognize the warning signs before losing everything. Michael's mugshot made the evening news. Jennifer's was right beside it. I watched from my living room as Channel 10 showed footage of both arrests. Michael looked confused, scared, like a man waking up from a nightmare. Jennifer looked calm, professional, like this was just another business transaction gone wrong. The news anchor's voice was serious. Federal agents arrested 2 suspects today in connection with a multi-state financial fraud ring that targeted married couples. Jennifer Walsh, 38, allegedly ran a sophisticated operation that stole over $4 million from at least 23 families. My phone rang constantly. Reporters wanting interviews. FBI agents scheduling testimony preparation. Other victims calling to share their stories. Margaret came over with coffee and tissues, though I didn't need the tissues anymore. The crying was done. Now came the work of rebuilding. "How do you feel?" she asked. "Empty," I admitted. "Not sad empty. Just, clean empty. Like a house after you've cleared out 15 years of junk." The news coverage continued through the evening. Jennifer Walsh's operation was bigger than anyone had imagined. She'd used dating apps, business networking events, and professional conferences to identify targets. Married men with substantial assets who seemed unhappy or stressed. Walsh would spend months gaining their trust, the FBI spokesman explained to reporters. She presented herself as a financial consultant who specialized in asset protection during divorce proceedings. She convinced these men their wives were planning to leave them and take half their wealth. The genius of her scheme was turning husbands against wives before stealing from both. Michael genuinely believed I was plotting against him because Jennifer had shown him forged evidence of my affairs and secret divorce plans. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Saw the news. My husband has been acting strange lately. Long business trips, new clothes, secretive phone calls. Can we talk?" Another victim, or potential victim. I forwarded the message to Agent Rodriguez and called the woman back. Her name was Patricia. Her husband worked in insurance, traveled frequently, and had recently started asking questions about their joint accounts. "He wants to change all our passwords for security reasons," she said. "Patricia, check your bank statements. Look for any accounts you didn't open, any signatures you didn't sign. And if you find anything suspicious, call the FBI immediately." Should financial fraud get the same attention as violent crime? By the end of the week, 12 more women had contacted me through the Victim Support Network. Some were already in the middle of Jennifer Walsh-style operations. Others had escaped before losing everything because they'd seen our news coverage. Michael called me from jail on Friday evening. His voice was different, smaller, ashamed. Karen, I know sorry doesn't fix anything. But I need you to know I thought I was protecting us. Jennifer showed me documents that made it look like you were planning to divorce me and take everything. The documents were fake, Michael. I know that now. But they looked real. Bank statements showing you moving money, emails to divorce lawyers, even photos that looked like you with another man. The phone rang. It was another wife. Jennifer had a fourth victim. Jennifer Walsh was in federal custody, but her network was still operating. There were more criminals out there, more victims being targeted right now. Our work was just beginning. The check represented more than money recovered. It was proof that fighting back works. 8 months after the arrests, I sat in David Chen's office holding a settlement check for $287,000, every penny Jennifer Walsh and Michael had stolen, plus legal fees and damages. The Federal Asset Recovery Program moved faster than usual, David explained. Your case became the model for prosecuting organized financial fraud. Other victims are getting their money back too. Jennifer Walsh had pled guilty to all charges in exchange for information about her criminal network. She'd receive 15 years in federal prison and would pay $4.8 million in restitution to all victims. Michael received 3 years for conspiracy and fraud. His cooperation with federal investigators had reduced what could have been a 10-year sentence. What now? David asked. I folded the check and put it in my purse. The money felt different than it had before, not like savings built slowly over years, but like proof that justice sometimes works. I'm starting a foundation, I said. Financial fraud education. Teaching people how to recognize the warning signs before they lose everything. The idea had been growing for months. Every phone call from potential victims, every testimony from Jennifer's other targets, every news interview had taught me something important. This crime was preventable if people knew what to look for. Margaret had offered to help with bookkeeping. Beth from Michigan wanted to develop educational materials. Sarah from Tampa had connections with victim advocacy groups. The Karen Thompson Foundation for Financial Safety, David said, trying out the name. I like it. Not the Karen Thompson Foundation. The Truth and Trust Foundation. Because that's what Jennifer Walsh had destroyed and what we needed to rebuild, the ability to trust without being naive, to love without being vulnerable, to share financial lives without losing financial identities. 2 weeks later, I gave my first public presentation to a church group in Dayton. 60 married couples, mostly older, mostly trusting people like I'd been. Financial abuse doesn't look like violence, I told them. It looks like love. It looks like protection. It looks like someone caring so much about your future that they want to handle all the complicated money stuff for you. I showed them the warning signs. Missing mail, password changes, new accounts you didn't open, signatures that looked like yours but felt wrong, business trips that didn't match up with company records. Trust isn't about blind faith, I said. Trust is about transparent accountability. Real love wants you to see every document, know every password, understand every financial decision. After the presentation, 3 women stayed behind. Each had noticed suspicious changes in their husband's financial behavior. 2 had already found forged signatures on bank documents. What would you do differently to protect your finances now? We spent 2 hours reviewing their evidence, calling banks, and contacting federal investigators. A woman called yesterday. Her husband's been taking business trips. She found a plaid shirt. The cycle was starting again somewhere else. But this time, the victim had seen our news coverage, recognized the pattern, and called for help before losing everything. That's when I knew the foundation was working. The house keys felt different now, they opened doors I controlled completely. 2 years after the hotel lobby revelation that changed everything, I stood in my kitchen making coffee for one and checking emails from women across the country. The Truth and Trust Foundation had helped prevent financial fraud for over 200 families, recovered stolen assets for 47 victims, and provided educational resources that now reached millions through social media. My phone buzzed with a text from Margaret. board meeting at 2 p.m. We have 3 new cases from Texas and 2 potential victims who caught the warning signs early. 3 new cases meant 3 families torn apart by professional criminals like Jennifer Walsh. But 2 families who caught the warning signs early meant 2 couples who would go to bed tonight with their trust intact and their money safe. The kitchen table where I'd once spread Michael's forged expense reports now held grant applications, victim testimonies, and legislative proposals for stronger financial fraud protections. Ohio had passed the Truth and Trust Act requiring banks to verify identity in person for account changes over $10,000. 4 other states were considering similar laws. Michael had been released 6 months ago. He'd sent a letter asking to meet, to apologize properly, to see if we could rebuild something from the wreckage. I'd written back, "The person who could forgive you died in a St. Louis hotel lobby. The person I am now wishes you well, but doesn't need your apologies." He'd remarried, a woman from his support group for financial fraud offenders. They lived in Cincinnati and ran a small business helping people recover from identity theft. Strange how people sometimes find their purpose in their greatest failures. Jennifer Walsh would be eligible for parole in 12 years. Her criminal network had been completely exposed, 17 associates arrested, over $12 million recovered, dozens of victims compensated. But I knew there were others out there, running similar schemes, targeting the trust that holds marriages together. The doorbell rang at 1:30 p.m. A young woman, maybe 28, holding a manila folder. "Mrs. Thompson? My name is Ashley Rodriguez. I've been following your foundation's work. I think my husband is being targeted by someone like Jennifer Walsh." I invited her in and made fresh coffee. Ashley's story was familiar: business trips that didn't match company schedules, new financial advisor who insisted on meeting her husband alone, missing bank statements, passwords changed for security reasons. "But I saw your interview on Channel 10 last month," Ashley said. "I recognized the pattern before he could sign anything or transfer any accounts." She opened her folder and showed me printed emails between her husband and someone calling herself Michelle Banks, financial security consultant. The language was identical to Jennifer Walsh's communications, the same fears about protecting assets from potential divorce proceedings, the same promises about offshore investment opportunities. "Ashley, your husband isn't cheating on you. He's being recruited by criminals who specialize in destroying marriages to steal money." We spent 3 hours documenting evidence, calling federal investigators, and developing a strategy to protect Ashley's family while exposing Michelle Banks' operation. Share one financial safety tip that could save someone's future. As Ashley left with FBI contact information and a safety plan, I realized something that made me smile for the first time in months. The woman who'd been erased from her own financial life had become someone who protected other people's financial lives. Trust isn't about blind faith. It's about transparent accountability. And sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is count the receipts. If Karen's journey from betrayal to empowerment inspired you, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories of people who fought back and won. Tell me in the comments, what warning sign would you never ignore again? And remember, your signature is your power. Never let anyone else hold the pen.